Welcome to week 4. This week we shift from how processes are designed to how much they can actually produce. Capacity is one of the most strategic decisions any organization makes. Build too much and you waste money. Build too little and you lose customers. By the end of this lecture, you will be able to calculate utilization and efficiency, compute expected output, and evaluate capacity options using break-even analysis. Let's start with a scenario you've probably experienced. You walk into a restaurant, it's packed, you get seated right away, but then you wait 45 minutes for your food. The dining room has capacity. The kitchen doesn't. That gap between what a system can theoretically do and what it actually produces is exactly what we're studying today. Every business faces this: hospitals, airlines, factories, call centers. There are 3 levels of capacity every operations manager must understand. Design capacity is the theoretical maximum, what the system could produce under perfect conditions, running 24/7 with no breakdowns, no breaks, no maintenance. Effective capacity is more realistic. It accounts for scheduled maintenance, shift changes, quality inspections, and normal operating constraints. Actual output is what really comes out the door. It can be less than effective capacity due to machine breakdowns, absenteeism, material shortages, or quality problems. The 2 formulas on this slide, utilization and efficiency, measure how well you're using each level. Let's work through this together. Brooklyn Med Clinic can theoretically see 120 patients per day. That's design capacity. But realistically, with scheduling gaps, lunch breaks, and paperwork, they can only handle 90. That's effective capacity. Last Tuesday, they saw 72. Utilization tells us how we're doing against the theoretical maximum. 72 divided by 120 equals 60%. Efficiency tells us how we're doing against the realistic target. 72 divided by 90 equals 80%. The efficiency number is more actionable. It tells the manager they're performing at 80% of what's realistically achievable. The question becomes, what's causing that 20% gap? Here's the expected output formula. It bridges effective capacity and efficiency into a realistic forecast. The Flatbush Distribution Center can handle 500 packages per hour under normal conditions, but historically only achieves 88% of that. So expected output is 500 times 0.88, which equals 440 packages per hour. Now here's where it gets strategically important. If the business needs to ship 480 packages per hour to meet customer demand, they have a capacity gap of 40 packages per hour. That gap drives a capacity planning decision. Do you hire more staff, add a shift, invest in automation, or outsource the overflow? This is exactly the kind of analysis operations managers do every day. Capacity planning happens at 3 time horizons, and each requires different decisions. Long-range planning, 1 year or more out, involves major commitments: building a new facility, purchasing large equipment, or signing a long-term outsourcing contract. These decisions are expensive and hard to reverse. Medium-range planning covers 3 to 18 months and focuses on workforce levels, subcontracting, and building inventory buffers. Short-range planning is tactical, scheduling, overtime, and job assignments to handle week-to-week fluctuations. Notice the capacity cushion at the bottom. Most organizations deliberately maintain extra capacity beyond expected demand. Why? Because demand is uncertain, and running at 100% utilization leaves no room for error, maintenance, or unexpected surges. Airlines, hospitals, and utilities all use capacity cushions as a strategic buffer. This image reinforces the concept that capacity decisions are long-term, capital-intensive commitments, not easily reversed. The visual scale of a construction site or warehouse makes this visceral. One of the most important concepts in capacity planning is the relationship between scale and cost. As you increase volume, average unit cost initially falls. This is economies of scale. You're spreading fixed costs over more units, workers specialize, and purchasing power increases. Think of Amazon's fulfillment centers. The more packages they process, the cheaper each one gets. But at some point, the curve turns upward. Dice economies of scale kick in. The organization becomes too complex to manage efficiently. Coordination costs rise, communication breaks down, bureaucracy slows decisions, and quality suffers. The optimal scale is the bottom of that U-curve, and finding it is a core strategic challenge. For your working adult students, think about a restaurant that was great when it had one location, but lost its quality when it expanded to 10. That's dice economies of scale in action. Once you know your capacity requirements, you need to decide how to respond to demand fluctuations. There are 3 fundamental strategies. Chase demand means you adjust your capacity up and down to match demand. Hire in busy seasons, lay off in slow ones. Airlines and retailers do this. The advantage is low inventory. The cost is workforce instability and the human impact of layoffs. Level capacity means you maintain a constant output rate regardless of demand. Build inventory when demand is low, draw it down when demand spikes. This works well for manufacturers with storable products. Demand management means you try to shift customer demand to match your capacity. Think of happy hour pricing, early bird specials, or off-peak airline fares. Most real businesses use a combination of all 3. The key is knowing which lever to pull and when, and understanding the cost and human implications of each choice. Let's ground these strategies in companies your students know. NYC hospitals use a mix. They maintain a base staff level year-round, but bring in travel nurses during flu season. JetBlue at JFK is a classic demand management example. Off-peak pricing, red-eye flights, and loyalty programs all exist to shift demand away from peak times and fill capacity that would otherwise go unused. Brooklyn Brewery uses level capacity. They brew at a steady rate year-round and build inventory before the summer peak. Amazon is the most dramatic chase example in the world. They hire over 100,000 seasonal workers before Prime Day and the holidays, then scale back in January. For your working adult students, ask them, what strategy does your employer use? The answers are always illuminating. Let's recap the 6 key ideas from this lecture. We covered the 3 levels of capacity and the 2 formulas, utilization and efficiency, that measure performance at each level. We introduced expected output as a planning tool. We mapped out the 3 planning horizons and the concept of the capacity cushion. We explored why bigger isn't always better through economies and dice economies of scale. And we compared the 3 fundamental capacity strategies. In the next lecture, we go deeper into what happens when one step in a process limits the whole system, bottleneck analysis and the theory of constraints.